You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Although Hidden Traps is not officially released until August 1st, you can pre-order your paperback or ebook copy now from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
Here's George Foreman with InventHelp.
Hi, I'm George Foreman. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp has been helping inventors for more than 30 years and has sales offices nationwide. InventHelp can submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas. If you have an idea and want to try to patent it and submit it to companies, you should call InventHelp today for free information.
Listen, I can't guarantee a company will be interested in your idea, but I believe every inventor deserves the opportunity to step into the ring and take their best shot. Put InventHelp in your corner.
To get your free inventor's information, call 1-800-353-6490. That's 1-800-353-6490. Again, 1-800-353-6490.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687. 8687.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, Internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
My name is Jessie. I'm a United States Special Forces widow. This gives me a unique perspective on the world around us. If you're willing to listen, I'll tell you how I see it, and I won't pull any punches. This is my POV, which stands for Point of View.
All right, how's everybody doing out there today? Yes, it's Jessie, and boy, do I miss you guys when we're not talking. Yes, you read that show description right. Rabbits, television, and bases. Of course I mean military bases, not baseball bases. But we will get to all of that. What, you're wondering how the rabbits got in the show? Well, you're just going to have to hang around and find out, because they are very much a part of the show. Oh yes, now they're a cute part, I will admit, and the story kind of made me laugh, and well, that's why it's there. Because I do like to lighten things up. In fact, I gotta thank Doc for this one. Yes, Dr. Judy L. Moore told me about this one, our very own Conversations in Science host. Now, speaking of animals, I've got Host Kitty wanting something. What's that, Host Kitty? Oh wow, a double meow. Seems Host Kitty does think that Judy L. Moore and Hidden Traps will cover the great meow. Yes, the great meow. Now, I'm not going to go talk too much about Doc's book, but I am going to let y'all know, if you haven't signed up for the webinar, you're not a writer, it doesn't matter. Do you have an online presence? Website, Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff? You need the book, because there are some pretty scary traps out there. There really are. I mean, would you like your address to be findable just by someone hitting a few keystrokes? Yeah, no kidding. Not my idea of fun. Alright, for those of you who are joining me for the first time, I'm going to tell you how it works. Because I think I got a couple of new listeners out here. Alright, what we're going to do is, I don't cover Trump and what's going on at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. At least, not any more than I have to. And we do try and keep Mr. Frog right on out of the show. What do I cover then? I cover the international military stuff. Now, I know Stafford Voice is going to go into transgenders in the military in detail. Yep, I already know that one. But I do have a couple other things I want to touch on. Remember that last night some of those audio clips I played about North Korea? Well, I'm going to lead off with this one. And this one was again from the same forum that General Dunford was speaking at. I want you to listen closely to it. I'm going to play two. One, we're going to start off with the one that I think's most important, just to make sure I get it. Now I want you to listen. It's 45 seconds long. Listen to every second, especially the last 2 or 3. This is important.
I think for all of us, we should give Secretary Tillerson full support in attempting to resolve this diplomatically and economically, even as we recognize that it may not happen, and there may have to be a follow-up option, which is the military option. But we can wring our hands and say it'll never happen, or we can roll up our sleeves and make an effort to have a concerted economic and diplomatic plan that does cause KJU, Kim Jong-un, to come to the table and begin to have a conversation, at least stop the path that he's on right now, which is further development of intercontinental ballistic missiles and nuclear capability. And to me, it makes all the sense in the world to prove the theory of the case and to work this for a few more months.
Did you catch that last little bit? Did you catch that? Let's play the last little bit. Trying to get this set just right. All right.
To me, it makes all the sense in the world to prove the theory of the case and to work this for a few more months.
It makes all the sense in the world to prove the theory of the case and work this for a few more months. Now, is that his way of saying there's only a few more months before we exercise a military option? I don't know. No, I don't know. His version of months? Maybe 12 to 24? Or his version of months? Maybe something considerably shorter. But he did tell everybody that was listening to this, what he thinks about unimaginable. Untie my tongue. Let's take a listen to what the general had to say about unimaginable.
Many people, and this is an important point, many people have talked about military options as with words like unimaginable. And I would probably shift that slightly and say it would be horrific. And there would be a loss of life unlike any we have experienced in our lifetimes. And I mean, anyone who's been alive since World War II has never seen the loss of life that could occur if there's a conflict on the Korean Peninsula. But as I've told my counterparts, both friend and foe, it is not unimaginable to have military options to respond to North Korean nuclear capability. What's unimaginable to me is allowing a capability that will allow a nuclear weapon to land in Denver, Colorado. That's unimaginable to me.
I thought he defined unimaginable very nicely. And he also gave you a peek at his thoughts on horrific. And those were just some wrap-up items I had left over from last night that I wanted to lead off and make sure I got them in before I got sidetracked. Because I thought they were that important. Yes, they are that important, folks. All right. Now, what you've all been waiting for. Show prep. Yep, that stack of show prep. All right. And this is a couple days old, but I still think it bears mentioning. And it's a day old. A U.S. Coastal Patrol ship participating in coalition exercises in the Persian Gulf fired warning shots after an Iranian naval vessel that was conducting what U.S. Central Command, or CENTCOM, officials called an unsafe and unprofessional interaction in international waters. The Iranian vessel approached within 150 yards of the coastal patrol ship, the USS Thunderbolt, and did not respond to repeated attempts to establish radio communications. The Thunderbolt crew then fired warning flares and sounded the internationally recognized danger signal of 5 short blasts on the ship's whistle. The Iranian vessel continued inbound. As the Iranian vessel proceeded, the U.S. ship, the crew again sounded 5 short blasts before firing warning shots in front of the Iranian vessel. The Iranian vessel then halted its approach. And all I gotta say, that doesn't sound like they were playing by the rules of the road. They weren't even living up to internationally recognized maritime customs. They created a potential collision. And I'm sorry, they went out of their way to create the potential collision. Oh, yes. Alright, I'm going to take 2 seconds here and organize my show prep. You didn't think I actually had that, I was that organized, did you? And no, the rabbits aren't going to come up next. They'll get there, but they ain't coming up next. I got more Asia Pacific stuff before I get to those wascally wabbits. Alright, got a little bit of good news here. Pakistan's foreign minister says Afghan forces have rescued 2 Pakistani diplomats who were abducted in Afghanistan last month. The ministry says the 2 were recovered in a security operation on Wednesday and have been handed over to the Pakistani embassy in Kabul. The ministry says the Afghan President Ashraf Ghani telephoned the Pakistani embassy to inform the staff about the rescue. The 2 were stationed at a consulate, not in Jalalabad when they went missing on June 16th. The ministry says the 2 will return home to be reunited with their families as soon as possible. So I gotta say, well done, Afghani military. Mr. Frog. You are definitely an annoyance tonight. And yes, I'd love to give him the night off, but he just likes to make repeated appearances. Alright. Does the North Korean sanctions bill, and this is more foreign policy, folks, does the North Korean sanctions bill endanger our relationship with China? Because, according to that sanctions bill, we may target Chinese companies, even as diplomats are working with Beijing at the United Nations. Oh, yes. Now, the Chinese say that they are going to go after Chinese entities if need be. However, and that was according to Susan Thornton, Acting Assistant Secretary of State Department's East Asia Bureau. Thornton's testimony came as House of Representatives was voting on a sweeping bill with new sanctions targeting. You ready for the list of players, my friends? Russia, Iran, North Korea. So, I'd say we are walking a tightrope because, remember, we have troops in harm's way. Russia could get so ticked off with us, they decide to start bombing our Syrian forces. Now, I have not heard any tell of that. I have not have any reason to say that they will, other than they could. Because we have troops in Syria. Russia has troops in Syria. It is entirely possible. Probable? Let's hope not. Possible? Entirely. All right. So, perceived failure by Beijing with the United States to halt such missile tests has caused relations with Washington to cool. Last month, Trump tweeted he wished we would have had a little more help with respect to North Korea from China, but that doesn't seem to be working out. Now, Washington has also approved new sanctions on a Chinese bank with illicit financial ties to North Korea. And that move did anger Beijing. They, quote-unquote, strongly urged the United States to immediately correct their wrongful actions to avoid affecting bilateral cooperation on relevant issues. So this is bound to be a doozy on how all this plays out. All right. Going through a bit more show prep. We got him out of Mosul. We're getting him out of Raqqa. Is that the end of Daesh? Wish it was, folks. Wish it was. Philippine Marines prepare to fire mortars at Muslim militant positions on the front line in Marwari, in the southern island of Mindanao, because there has been intense fighting in the Philippines, in Marwari, a city on the southern island, and Daesh views the drawn-out battle as a major win. Because guess what? They're making their new base the Philippines. Yes, President Duterte's Philippines. So, what do we know about it so far? Well, the residents aren't happy because they've got hostile combatants to the left and hostile combatants to the right. They've got both the Philippine military and Daesh, and they are caught in the middle. Daesh has been expanding its foothold in Southeast Asia with the Philippine siege. At least 36, there's been plenty of attacks. There were 36 killed in a Philippine casino resort. The suspect took his own life. So, and as we know, Daesh recruits from all over the world. Among the fighters who were killed are militants from Chechnya, India, Indonesia, Malaysia, Saudi Arabia, Yemen. And while fighters from Pakistan and Morocco are still active in the city, the Philippine military said a greater future danger may be fighters from Southeast Asia returning from Iraq and Syria. Where have you heard me say that those fighters are not just going to vaporize? The ones not taken on the battlefield. They are going home. And depending on where home is, they could sow more violence, destruction, and wreak more havoc. Alright. While we're on the Daesh topic, there was an emotionally charged mass on Wednesday, attended by French President Emmanuel Macron. It has marked 1 year since the brutal murder of a Catholic priest, whose throat was slit by two 19-year-old Daesh terrorists. The ceremony took place outside the Saint Etienne de Roubaix church, inside of which the men killed Father Jacques Hamel, 85, as he celebrated morning mass last year. Macron said the two jihadis failed in sowing thirst for vengeance among French Catholics, and referred to Hamel as a martyr. Hamel's smile has become a reminder of resistance in the face of bigotry. Rouen Archbishop Dominique Lebrun, who led the service, said, "Though he is dead, Father Jacques Hamel is still alive. Hate has not triumphed, and it will never triumph." I think that is an outstanding way to be. Following the ceremony, local dignitaries unveiled a 2-meter metal memorial tribute to the slain priest with writings from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The memorial is a symbol of peace and brotherhood. Daesh claimed responsibility for the attack last July, in which 2 nuns, an elderly couple, were held hostage before the assailants slashed the priest's throat and seriously wounded another man. One of the nuns did manage to slip away and alert authorities, and police shot and killed the attackers as they left the church. This is one of several, repeat, several Daesh attacks targeting France over the past few years. Now, we're on to one of my favorite topics. Yes, we're going back to talk about quackers. Good old quackers. North Korea may have a reliable ICBM missile by next year. That's about 2 years ahead of the schedule, according to a new assessment put out by none other than the Pentagon. Yes, you heard it right. The Pentagon says North Korea is 2 years ahead of their anticipated schedule. Now, that just means that they're building stuff faster than the military predicted. Is this scary? Yes and no, my friends. It is a little spooky because, well, means we didn't have a good grasp on it. But remember, they have underground tunnels, underground silos, and all kinds of other things. Mobile missile launchers, all kinds of stuff. It does remain unclear if North Korea currently has a missile capable of withstanding re-entry. That is a missile that can pass through the upper atmosphere without damaging its warhead. Such a weapon is regarded by some experts as a daunting technological barrier. However, analysts say the achievement could be reached with the new tests that are expected within days. Now, I say days. I'm sitting here staring at the news feed on my phone because one of their big holidays is coming up. Yeah, I keep up on North Korean holidays. What can I tell you? So, you never know when the lunatic in the north, aka our good old friend Quackers, is gonna blast off for a missile. I keep hoping for a failure that comes down and takes him out, but I don't think I'm gonna get that lucky, my friends. I just have this stinking feeling it ain't gonna happen. Alright. We are almost at the bottom of the hour. Alright, rabbits. What do rabbits have to do with my show? Dunedin, New Zealand was the site of some flooding earlier this week. And it was a woolly ride, but 3 wild rabbits managed to escape rising floodwaters in New Zealand by clambering aboard the sheep and surfing to safety. Ferg Horn, 64, said he's been farming since he left school at age 15 and never seen anything quite like it. He was trudging through the pelting rain, and yes, Doc told me it was coming down pretty hard. To rescue a neighbor's 40 sheep from the floodwaters on Saturday at their South Island farm near Dunedin. When he spotted some dark shapes from a distance, he was puzzled because he knew his neighbor who was away attending a nephew's wedding didn't have any black-faced sheep. As he got closer, he thought it might be debris from the storm. Then he saw the bedraggled rabbits hitching a ride, 2 on one sheep and a 3rd on another. I couldn't believe it for a start, he said. Nobody else would believe him either without proof, so he pulled out his phone to take a photo, an image he figured his grandchildren would enjoy. Well, he actually ended up shooting a video, and he's like, it's a smartphone, or whatever you call it. I'm absolutely useless with technology. Nevertheless, he captured the moment. He said the sheep were huddled together on a high spot on the farm, standing about 8 centimeters, that's about 3 inches worth of water, friends. He said the rabbits looked like they'd gotten wet, but seemed quite comfortable and relaxed atop their mounts. Rabbits are kind of considered a pest to farmers in New Zealand. And typically, Horn says he shoots them when he sees one. But these three showed so much initiative, I thought they deserved to live. Horn herded the sheep to a patch of dry ground on a farm about 50 meters away. The sheep didn't like it. So, as they jumped through the water, the rabbits had a fun time trying to stay on. He said the rabbits appeared to cling on to the wool with their paws. As they approached the higher ground, the rabbits fell off but managed to climb a hedge to safety. Horn was able to return home later that afternoon as the floodwaters were receding. The sheep were safe and the rabbits were long gone. And good news for him, his home had remained dry. Yep, the rabbits. I promised you guys rabbits. Well, there was the rabbits. And as a reminder, you can always follow me on Twitter at Jesse's POV. You can always drop me a line at the station, Jesse's POV at KLRNRadio.com. And I will see you on the other side. You can play dead if you wanna. Forget what they say. And if you wanna turn your back on the country needing you right now. But I don't wanna.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Although Hidden Traps is not officially released until August 1st, you can pre-order your paperback or ebook copy now from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
Here's George Foreman with InventHelp.
Hi, I'm George Foreman. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp has been helping inventors for more than 30 years and has sales offices nationwide. InventHelp can submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas. If you have an idea and want to try to patent it and submit it to companies, you should call InventHelp today for free information.
Listen, I can't guarantee a company will be interested in your idea, but I believe every inventor deserves the opportunity to step into the ring and take their best shot. Put InventHelp in your corner.
To get your free inventor's information, call 1-800-353-6490. That's 1-800-353-6490. Again, 1-800-353-6490.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
Everyone loves liberty. Our rights come from God, not the government. So why are you letting other people tell you what's best for your health care? Exercise your freedom with Liberty Health Share. Liberty Health Share is a community of people who voluntarily share one another's medical costs. Liberty Health Share is founded on the idea that most people truly want to help one another. Healthcare sharing allows members to do just that as a true community that supports one another in times of need. Liberty believes people should make decisions for themselves and their families. Members are able to take back the freedom to make their own decisions about their healthcare. Freedom from guilt or doubt about how your money is used. You have the freedom to direct your healthcare, not to be dictated to by bureaucrats. Stop letting others tell you what to do and join a community of like-minded people. Exercise your freedom. Join Liberty Health Share and take back the control of your healthcare while helping those around you. Call Liberty at 855-58-LIBERTY. Again, that's 855-58-LIBERTY for more information, or you can check them out at libertyhealthshare.org. Again, that's libertyhealthshare.org.
All right, thank y'all for hanging in there with me while I took that much-needed commercial break. Yes, gotta pay the bills, even on the air. So, what else do I have for you? You know I got more stuff. That's not news. What news? The question is, what news do I have? Well, we're going to talk Iran just briefly, my friends. Babka Namzi has been trying to persuade the U.S. government to step up its fight for their freedom. Both his brother and his father were arrested and imprisoned while visiting Iran nearly 2 years ago. They are dual national American-Iranians or Iranian-Americans, however you want to phrase that, who were convicted of espionage in a secret trial last year and now serving 10-year sentence in Tehran's Evin prison. Now, Evin prison is known for its particularly harsh conditions. Now it finally appears the family's quest for their release is gaining traction. The U.S. passed a bill Wednesday calling for Iran to release all citizens and legal residents being held for political purposes. The White House had already started to elevate the issue last week. It threatened new and serious consequences if Iran did not release all imprisoned U.S. citizens. That prompted Iran to call for the U.S. to release Iranians it is holding, suggesting to some experts Iran may be willing to negotiate a trade. For Iran, a prisoner swap would resolve a problem they're making, and that's by Reza Marshi, director for the National Iranian American Council. Iran doesn't have the upper hand when it unjustly detains Americans. Iran needs to resolve this so the situation doesn't get worse. Now, I don't know where the administration stands on this. I'm going to be point blank. I don't know where they stand. But I'd rather exchange some Iranian citizens than a plane load of cash. Okay? Remember Obama? They flew in an unmarked plane filled with unmarked bills? Yeah, something like $1.7 billion. And Obama's excuse was, well, it was their money. We just couldn't write them a check. President Obama, there's ways around everything. And of course, don't forget, last month Iran sentenced a 37-year-old Chinese-American student at Princeton for spying, Zhi Wang. And of course, Robert Levinson, a 69-year-old former FBI agent, went missing in Iran in 2007. There are also 2 U.S. permanent residents detained in Iran. Karen Vafardi, she owns an art gallery in Tehran. She was arrested last July. And Nazar Zaka, he's an IT expert originally from Lebanon. He is also believed to have been detained in Iran since 2015. Also, we've got Golmarez Reza Shaini, Iranian-American dual citizen, was sentenced to 18 months in prison in October for national security crimes. However, he was released on bail, is now under house arrest. Of course, the issue of jailed Americans has been a sensitive topic in U.S.-Iranian relations. This goes back to my travel warning, kids. We don't have diplomatic relations with Tehran, Iran. Switzerland is our embassy there. They act on our behalf. So, do not travel. Let's just make this a real simple statement. You're planning a trip to a foreign country. Does the U.S. have an embassy there? Answer no. Forget about it. So I think that's a real easy way to rule a few places off your list. Because hint, we don't have diplomatic relations with North Korea. Sweden takes care of you there. All right. Just straightening out more show prep. I still have to tell you about the bases and the televisions. Yep, I still got bases and televisions. I'm aware. I'm tracking. Just pawing through my show prep. All right. Let's talk bases. Military bases, of course. No, not baseball, Ron. We're talking military bases, specifically Chinese military bases. New satellite imagery of China's first overseas military base reveals it to be larger than anticipated and more secure than previously thought. 2 images provided by Stratford Worldview and All Source Analysis show the base. You want to know where it is? Djibouti. It's a strategic choke point on the Horn of Africa to be heavily fortified with 3 layers of security. It has about 20,000 square meters. That's about 250,000 square feet, my friends, of underground space. The type of construction is in line with known Chinese practices in hardening their military bases. The underground structures allow for unobserved activity as well as offer protection to vehicles or facilities critical to the Chinese mission in Djibouti. Yes, China is working on building a military base in Africa. China dispatched troops to the base earlier this month. The United States, France, and Japan also have permanent military bases there, but those are not as heavily fortified. Even though it's just one of those bases in Djibouti, as several other countries have, China has taken its own methods to Djibouti. China's defense ministry has touted the base as a way for the People's Liberation Army to help bring peace and security to the region by providing a means of carrying out anti-piracy operations and humanitarian assistance. However, if we're going to do anti-piracy, doesn't that suggest sea? I know it does to me. There's no docks. They've built no docks for ships. So, if we are going to do anti-piracy, but we didn't build a dock for a Navy vessel or even a fishing trawler to pull into, what are they lying about? Yes, what are the Chinese lying about? That's the first thought that came to my mind. So, a dock will likely eventually be constructed. My suspicion is, if nothing else, to smooth over the fact that they're claiming anti-piracy operations, but yet they have no dock. Interesting. I see you, Ron. That's funny. And I'm not repeating the comment on air. Alright, so we're going to get on to the TV's part of the show. Now, those of you who are regular listeners know we covered the impeachment of former South Korean President Park Geun-hye. Well, South Korea doesn't normally allow live television coverage of sentencing hearings in their lower courts, which is where Park Geun-hye is being tried. However, South Korea's top court said it will allow full live television coverage of sentencing hearings in lower courts starting next month, paving ground for the whole nation to watch the final verdict on former President Park Geun-hye, who I will say is in pre-trial detention. Yes, she is already in prison. The change in court rules will likely lead to a national televised coverage of Park's trial when the Seoul Central District Court is set to deliver its first ruling on the disgraced leader in October. Now, just as a reminder, she was stripped of power by the March 10th constitutional ruling on her impeachment. She was arrested later that month on a string of charges, including taking bribes from Samsung, colluding with her longtime friend Cho Sin-sil, who's also detained in connection with the scandal. The top court hinted at televising high-profile trials in late May, as it concluded a survey on some 2,900 judges, asking for their opinions on expanding the scope of live broadcasts. 68% of the judges agreed to televising court proceedings on the condition that their cases are under public scrutiny. In other words, don't worry about traffic court, my friends. So, looks like the people of South Korea will get to see the verdict live of their former president, Park Geun-hye. And that sound was me trying to gulp down some water so we can hopefully kick Mr. Frog out of the rest of this episode. He's being a pain in my neck. Now, I found something else cute about South Korea. Tonight was my night for the critters. Current South Korean President Moon Jae-in, welcomed a rescue dog to his official Blue House. Now, the Blue House is South Korea's presidential residence. It's their White House, except it's a Blue House. Delivering on a campaign promise to boost awareness of fast-growing numbers of abandoned animals, accompanying a surge in pet ownership. Tori, a 4-year-old black mixed breed, becomes the first shelter dog to attain the title of first dog, joining Moon's 2 other pets, a 10-year-old Korean-bred Pugsan dog called Maru, and a former stray cat, Jingjing. Moon says, as a society, we need to pay more attention to abandoned animals and care for them. Now, this dog, Tori, has a black coat, remember? I just described that. Tori had to wait for 2 years to be adopted while his lighter-furred friends easily found new homes. Because there is a stigma have been abandoned and darker fur in that country also carries a superstition. What it is, I didn't take time to look into it. But this episode is quickly going to the critters tonight. Alright, here's a little bit of news I don't normally cover, but we're going to take a peek at it. Israel's parliament on Wednesday passed the first of 3 votes needed to enact legislation that would set an extra high threshold for any future vote on ceding parts of Jerusalem to the Palestinians. The proposed amendment to the Jerusalem Basic Law defining the city's legal status could pass into law later this year. It states that at least 80 of the Knesset's, that's their parliament, friends, 120 lawmakers would have to vote in favor of any proposal to hand over parts of Jerusalem to a foreign party. The status of Jerusalem is one of the main stumbling blocks in U.S.-led efforts to resume Israeli-Palestinian peace talks. Now, of course, Israel declared Jerusalem its capital, its eternal and indivisible capital, after capturing the majority Arab East Jerusalem in 1967. Yes, there was a 1967 war. Israel gained a lot of territory, and long story short, most people want Israel to go back to their pre-1967 war borders. I don't know too many countries that fight a war for their existence, gain land, and give it back. Look, Russia didn't even fight much of a war with Ukraine, yet they annexed all of Crimea. Roughly 2/3 of Jerusalem's population of 900,000 is Israeli and about 1/3 is Palestinian. Israel has expanded the city's boundaries and built urban settlements for tens of thousands of citizens, interspersed among Palestinian neighborhoods. Now, of course, the Palestinians want East Jerusalem as the capital of an independent state together with the Israeli-occupied West Bank and Gaza Strip. Opposition left-wing lawmakers have proposed redrawing Jerusalem's boundaries to include some Palestinian neighborhoods they say have no connection to Israeli society and should be part of a future Palestinian state. Now, this vote passed under historic tension as Palestinians have protested heightened security measures near the Temple Mount. Now let's talk about it. An emboldened Hamas on Wednesday called for a day of rage against Israeli security forces. A day of rage against Israeli security forces. That sounds like a losing proposition, kids. As the terror group claimed to win in the violent dispute over a contested shrine in Jerusalem. Alright. I got to give a slight Jerusalem geography lesson, then I got to get on up out of here. Alright. Jerusalem. Western Wall. There are two main religions that claim it, and a third that has, in my opinion, host opinion, has a tertiary claim. The Western Wall itself was part of the original Jewish temple built way long ago. Now, the Muslims claim the site of the Temple Mount for a mosque because they claim that is the spot from which the Prophet Muhammad ascended into heaven. So you've got the Al-Aqsa Mosque that was built while the Jews weren't allowed to be in and around Jerusalem. And so your host simply summarizes the Temple Mount as the most contested piece of land in all of real estate. Which makes it interesting having Trump for president because he's always willing dealing real estate. Maybe he can do something with the most contested piece of real estate in the world. I hope. The Al-Aqsa Mosque had metal detectors installed, and the Palestinians were outraged. Israeli officials have announced early Tuesday that sophisticated technology will be used at the mosque site instead of the metal detectors. Of course, it did not elaborate on when the metal detectors would be removed or what would replace them. Israeli media has reported high-resolution cameras capable of detecting hidden objects could be the alternative. Here's the deal. What started all this? The Trump mosque. That would be funny. If Israel gets the Temple Mount free and clear, that mosque may just have to disappear. At least that's how this host feels. Alright, so on that note, folks, I am out of time. And I'm going to make my way out of here. Just as a reminder, you can follow me on Twitter at Jesse's POV. You can shoot me an email at the station, Jesse's POV at KLRNRadio. And those of you writers, authors with a book out or coming out, please hit me up on Twitter at Jesse's POV or email me at the station. I am working on restarting my show, Jesse's Coffee Shop. And on that note, friends, you regulars know what's about to happen. You new listeners, welcome to the fun.